but welcome to Building and Supporting Career Networks. I'm Matt Donato. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Alumni Career Services for the university. Alumni Career Services is a relatively new program for us and was actually created from responses from all of you, from the alumni community, that this is something we need to focus on as a university and provide more resources and provide opportunities for networking, job opportunities, and professional development. So really, I'm here in this job because of the feedback that you've given to the university, and we hope to continue to serve you well in Alumni Career Services. Also, I'd like to introduce Kate Fultalis. Kate, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm on the Board of Governors for the University of Chicago, Alumni Board of Governors, and I am, along with Matt, running Alumni Careers Network committee that we have on the Board of Governors, and it's great to see you all, and I hope we have a good interactive session, because Matt and I are kind of boring, so we would like to hear from you what you're doing and what you'd like to get from us.
I completely agree. So I'll probably talk for maybe 15 or 20 minutes at the most, and then we do have a discussion period where I'd like to hear your thoughts, ideas, feedback, concerns, everything. Please don't hold back if you have something good or bad to say. And also, just so you know, this presentation is on the flash drive that everyone got when you checked into Caucus today. So you can refer to it many, many times after this presentation, which I'm sure you'll all do. Anyway, I just wanted to start off. Building career networks, in my mind, is really about building a culture of advocacy within our alumni community. And there's a few things about advocacy and networking that I wanted to get out there. The first is networking is not a dirty word. That may actually be more appropriately, networking is not a dirty concept. Some people don't like the word networking, some people don't mind it, but I think the concept of networking is critical for career development, for building a stronger alumni community. So that's one of the primary goals that we have in Alumni Career Services, to help build stronger alumni networks. Networking is also a skill, not an innate ability. One of the people here with me is my assistant director, Mary Rice. Mary, raise your hand. She's on the Alumni Career Services team. And we actually do career advising appointments with alumni in Chicago and in other cities around the country and soon around the world. And one of the things that we focus on a lot is talking to people about networking and how you can be a better networker. It's not something that's innate to everyone. Some people are better at it than others, but it's something that we need to teach our alumni, and the alumni need to help teach each other. Networking is also a two-way street. You have to have a willing networker and a willing networkee to make it work. And one of the big issues that we have in terms of making networking a better two-way street is data, particularly with relation to our Alumni Careers Network that Kate mentioned. If you can't reach someone, you can't network with them. So we really need to improve the quality of our data and the number of alumni that we can reach. So that's a critical issue for us. Networking is an essential tool for managing your career path and or searching for a job. It gives you a built-in advantage. For people that are out of work, for people that are transitioning into a new job, the cliche of it's who you know, not what you know is true. I mean, networking is critically important to get you through the application process, to help get your resume on an HR manager's desk, and to really push the hiring process forward for many people. So we need to be much better as an alumni community about networking, and it is a huge job search resource. It's also great to do if you're not looking for a job, to keep your network strong. The University of Chicago community is an excellent, but in my opinion, underutilized networking resource. There are so many smart people in this room, so many successful people in this room and out in the larger world, but there's people in the Alumni Careers Network who told me they signed up 5 years ago and they've never been contacted, and they do amazing things. So how can we make it a much more utilized resource for everyone? Historically, and this is again my editorial comment, I don't think we've done a good job at supporting alumni networking activities. If you look at, again, our Alumni Careers Network, probably for about 5 or 6 years, no one really paid much attention to it internally here. People signed up, they maybe put their contact information in, but if you're part of the Careers Network, is anyone here part of the Careers Network? Have you ever gotten an email from us about, updating your contact information before September? Okay.
That's good.
We haven't done a good job of keeping people up to date and making sure that the network is vibrant and active. So we need to do better at that.
And just a comment from me is that I really would love for all of you to be on Alumni Careers Network. And if you need, talk to Matt or I about how do I get access to it, we'll have plenty of information about it.
Definitely. And a final point on this slide, network students become networked alumni. This is just sort of a note. My office is Alumni Career Services, but we do partner with many of the campus career offices, Booth, CAPS, Harris, SSA, Law School, on student-related programs, because it really is imperative to get networking and sort of this whole community, this culture of advocacy ingrained in students while they're on campus, because when they leave campus, they will be much more willing and able to network with other alumni. Marta Druska is here from CAPS. Marta is one of my closest colleagues on the career office side, and we talk weekly, and we do partner with a lot of student programs there, so that's critically important. We want to talk about what we currently have to support career networking. The one thing that I've talked about a couple times is Alumni Careers Network. That's our online database of alumni who are available for career networking and mentoring purposes. So they're available alumni to alumni or student to alumni. Students can use the network to contact alumni. To me, it's a critical piece of the Alumni and Friends online community, and it's vitally important to help support career networks pan-university, across schools and across generations. The Alumni Careers Network also includes our new Alumni Job Board, which just launched this week, which we're very excited about. It's basically a much easier way for you all and any alum to share a job opportunity with another alum, rather than having to go onto a career site and register as an employer or hiring manager. You can now just send us any jobs that you know of that you think might be interesting for alumni, and we will get those posted very quickly, and they'll be available to all alumni of the university. We have a LinkedIn group. We have an Alumni Career Services LinkedIn group that started off in March with, I think, 3 members, and now has grown to, do you know? We're close to 800. We're close to 700. So we're growing that very, very quickly in a few short months. And we also have partnered with the larger alumni-run LinkedIn group, which has about 5,000 members, and you'll see us post things pretty frequently to both LinkedIn groups, because we really want to foster the sense of a Chicago network that supports alumni and careers. Career events, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but we do, one of our goals is to sponsor more career events in conjunction with the volunteer structures out in the regions, in the class councils. We really want people to network in person, not just online. That's really important. So November is National Career Month, if you didn't know that. And we are sponsoring some big panel discussions in all of our large cities, so New York, Chicago, Boston, D.C., San Francisco, and L.A., as well as a couple smaller cities, Dallas and Philadelphia. And I believe we're going to have an event in Hong Kong as well. So please check the Alumni and Friends online community, or ask me a question about it, or Mary, because we really want alumni to come out to hear this. They're all panel discussions with alumni talking about specific industry topics. So we'd really love to have a good turnout and get people talking about careers. Industry shared interest groups. You may have heard that we have a new shared interest group program for alumni to come together and form affiliations based on interests or based on backgrounds. So one of the groups that, a couple of the groups that are becoming more active are UCABA, the University of Chicago Association of Black Alumni, and the LGBT shared interest group. But we also have professionally oriented shared interest groups. We have a bio-life sciences group in Boston, as well as one that's just formed in New York. We have a law group in Boston, as well as a law group forming in New York and one forming in Chicago. And we want to see more of these shared interest groups grow, because we believe they help foster career networking. So you'll hear more and more about those as time goes on. And then student-focused programs. I'm not going to go into all of those, but these are opportunities for students to meet and talk with alumni about career-related issues, some of them in very meaningful ways, like the Jeff Metcalf Fellows Program, where students do full-time summer internships, and the Alumni Board of Governors Externship Program, where students basically shadow alumni for 2 or 3 days during spring break. They're great opportunities for students to meet alumni, but what we're also trying to do with those programs is to build alumni networking into them. So if you're hosting an extern, you're going to be invited to a dinner where you can meet other externs in your area as well as the other hosts in your area. So it's really important for us to build in alumni networking into some of these student-focused programs. I'm going to go through some of these career networking challenges, and I think some of these will be good points of discussion for us. Diminishing returns on networking in the current economic climate. Some people are getting burned out on networking, as you can imagine. I mean, I don't know how many people in this room get contacted by, people looking for jobs, and you might get a couple of those calls a month. You might get a dozen of those calls a month. So that's a big issue, is how can we avoid overloading people in our careers network, overloading, people that are coming out to events. We don't want people to be overwhelmed with networking contacts so that they get turned off on the networking concept. Data accuracy, as I mentioned, is a huge issue. Our Alumni Careers Network has about 15,000 members in it right now, but we really don't know how much of that information is accurate. So we did a big project in September, which some of you, I think, heard of. I know Saj raised his hand, where we tried to improve our data accuracy. So I can confidently tell you that since May, we've had about 3,700 updates to the 15,000 alumni in Careers Network. So I can tell you that those 3,700 contacts are good contacts. And so we're trying to figure out ways that we can improve the accuracy of the other people while we still add alumni into the Careers Network. Diversity of alumni networking contacts. We need to engage alumni from all parts of the university, from lots of different industries, and with lots of different backgrounds. If you're an alum in San Francisco looking to get into journalism and you go onto the Careers Network and you don't find anyone, that's not helpful. So we need to really increase the diversity and the number of people in our Careers Network and at our career events. Breaking down university barriers. This is oftentimes more of an internal construct to the university than an external construct. If you're a Booth alum and you want to network with a college alum, you don't care where you graduated from. You just care that the University of Chicago name is on your diploma. So I think people outside the university don't see any problems with that, and we need to make sure that we're not getting caught up in that internally here at the university. Cost of hosting networking events. This is an issue. We all have limited resources, both here at the university and out in our regional clubs or with our class councils. My philosophy, at least for this year, has been for career networking events, we shouldn't be charging alumni. These are career events helping people maybe get jobs or helping them with the career transition. So I'm happy to pay for them, but that may not be a long-term sustainable strategy, and I know that the clubs don't necessarily have lots of money built into their budgets to support a whole set of career programs. So how can we continue to add events to our calendars without overtaxing our resources? Training networkers is a big issue, both mentors and mentees. We need to provide guidance to people who are looking to network with others so that they're doing it appropriately, they're following rules of etiquette. But we also need to train people who are in the network or who are being asked to be networking contacts about being responsive and holding them to certain levels of standards too. So we've tried to do more of that on the Careers Network than we've ever done before, but we still have a ways to go. And I'd love to hear any thoughts about how we can better train people to do networking effectively. And then finally, marketing alumni career networking opportunities. I know this is a big area of focus for Kate and the Board of Governors committee that she chairs. And I think we really need to reach more alumni. We need to engage more alumni with career networking. But also, we need to really define what the unique value of our networking services are. And I think there is a unique value there, but we need to do a better job of telling that story. I'm going to turn it over to Kate to talk a little bit about building a career networking infrastructure.
Yes, well, we've been talking a lot about careers because, of course, we heard it from the alumni in general, and recently we've had a downturn in the economy, or not so recently, but we've had many people looking for work. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm on the Careers Network, and now I'm starting to get a lot of calls from people. And I work at UCLA, and I'm starting to get calls from alums and asking, is there a job available? Kind of not what we want to do with the Alumni Careers Network was that kind of thing, but it is that I'm starting to get these calls now and I was really concerned about what kind of services we're providing to you for that. And so the Alumni Board of Governors recommended that alumni volunteer structures create a career chair or career liaison in our various alumni clubs. And that's been a very big push. I know Saj, my fellow board member, has been very interested in that too. We're looking for career chairs to help us run these career events with Matt's help, and that's been a very big interest also for that and for the shared interest groups. And we're looking at creating an Alumni Careers Network newsletter so that you can actually find out information about it. One of the things I was very concerned about was that nobody knew about Alumni Careers Network when I talked to them. Have you been on our network? Have you seen what we have offered? And Matt has put together a very nice web page of all the services we have. And but we need to hear from you also what you think of that, whether that's helpful, and we're going to be looking at that very closely. We have national and international interagency shared interest groups with local chapters. That's been a big push for those kinds of groups. And we've also, your team, and you've mentioned this already, has been working with the other career officers at the university, which in the past, and please correct me, Matt, if I'm wrong, have been very focused on getting students careers and jobs, getting them ready for graduate school. It's a little bit different when you're an alum, you've been out for a while. So we wanted to really push on what do alumni need, how can I, as an alum, help another alum develop his or her career and things like that. And we also need, we're looking for, as Board of Governors, we also need stories from alums who've had success either with the Alumni Careers Network or coming to an event and connecting up with networking, and has a story to tell us that whether it was good or bad. I always love good stories, but I like bad stories too, because I'd like to try and solve problems.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. And I think, this is all things that are in process or that are even close to fruition. And I think the first one is a particularly exciting one, because if we can find people at the club level, in class councils, in the shared interest groups, who can really be thinking broadly about careers in their region, in their class, and help us execute programs, it really leverages the limited resources that we have. The Alumni Career Services team is Mary and I, basically, and we work with CAPS a lot, but we really need help, and we can't execute 5 career programs in every city. But if we had a career chair in San Francisco who is helping us do that, then we could help support those activities and engage many, many more alumni than we'd be able to do on our own. So that's really, really important. And then I think the data tracking is something, like I said, we're getting more sophisticated about. But as Kate pointed out, it tells a great story when we see progress in the metrics that we're tracking. And it enables us to really make the case that some of the systems and programs that we're advocating for are effective. So we've talked for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'd actually like to open the floor up to discussion, comments, criticisms. And I thought I would seed the discussion a little bit with some questions, but I would welcome anyone here to bring up other questions or respond to any of these. So how can we work toward a more networked alumni community and build this culture of advocacy? What do you like and not like about current networking tools that we offer as a university? What types of events, networking events, do you want to see in your area or in your industry or in your company? What types of communications do you find most effective to engage alumni like yourself in career networking? What do you want to see us report to you, and how can we effectively report that? And obviously other comments, ideas, or questions. So, Barbara.
I'll ask 2 questions. First one is on the special interest groups. Working in financial services, that could be a really great one for Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. But how can that be managed given the Booth School, which sort of does its own thing? Because there's lots of UC alumni who didn't go to Booth, who work at business,
Yeah.
which may be a surprise to them.
I don't know about that.
So how can we create that group and either partner with Booth or something is something in line with that? And then the second thing is, have you thought about doing a career fair for alumni, tenured alumni only, bringing in companies to recruit people who've worked for 20, 30 years? Yeah. Is that a possibility?
So I'm going to repeat the question so that we can get them on the podcast that I know you'll all download after this. So the first question was, for the shared interest groups, particularly the professionally oriented shared interest groups, financial services, great industry for New York, for Chicago, but how do we make sure that we're engaging Booth alumni with those shared interest groups and having some collaboration? Well, you hit it right on the head. We need to collaborate with the local alumni leaders. So there's usually a Booth Club and a Chicago Alumni Club in all of our cities, particularly Chicago and New York. We need to make sure we're engaging those volunteer groups. But the shared interest group model that we've created is inclusive of all alumni of the university. So if you're going to be an official shared interest group of the university, you have to be open to all alumni. So the financial services shared interest group isn't just limited to college alumni in investment banking or Booth alumni in consulting. It's open to SSA alumni and nonprofits who might just want to come to an event to learn about financial services in New York. So I think we need to make sure that as we're rolling out these shared interest groups, we're making sure they're marketed to the entire community and that we're involving alumni leaders from our different constituencies. The issue with shared interest groups, and it's not really an issue, it's an opportunity, is that we want them to come from the ground up. So it would be really easy, or actually wouldn't be really easy, for us just to say, yeah, we need a financial services shared interest group in New York. We could do that, but we don't really have the resources to support that initial push to make that happen. So what we need is for alumni in New York to get together, and we can sort of seed the ground a little bit and identify people who've expressed an interest. But we need alumni saying, we want to do this. Let's hold a meeting. And we'll help facilitate the logistics and coordinate things. But we need alumni to come together and say, let's do this. That's how the Boston groups came together. That's how the law group in New York that's forming and the law group in Chicago that's forming came together. In New York, there was the beginnings of a shared interest group around finance led by one of our Board of Governors members. I don't know exactly where they are. I think they've had to pull back a little bit because of some scheduling issues, but it is happening. And what we need to do is make sure that we're identifying alumni that have interest, that we're supporting them when they express that interest, and that we're sharing the shared interest group guidelines with them, because it's really a helpful way for them to organize themselves and sort of outlines some of the very limited ground rules that we ask, which is like being inclusionary, not excluding certain types of alumni. We want them to abide by those guidelines, providing a report on a yearly basis. They're very limited guidelines, but we really think that helps for the group to organize itself. Your second question was, I'm sorry, career fair for alumni. That's a big thing. We do partner with CAPS on career fairs that happen periodically throughout the year on campus, but I won't deny that those are mostly geared towards students. Alumni are invited, and occasionally there are employers that will have job postings for alumni, and we have been trying to market those better to alumni in Chicago, since they do happen in Chicago. But we've looked into the possibility of doing, or what we've looked into is the possibility of partnering with larger consortiums of universities or with trade groups that are doing a career fair and making sure our alumni would be invited and eligible to come to those. We haven't really found one that suits our needs, and I think what you're talking about is a more exclusive Chicago career fair. I would love to do that, but it does require some staffing resources to do, and I think we need to explore it, but it's going to require a lot of employer outreach. It's going to require us to take time away from some of the other activities that we were doing with the Careers Network and with some of the career events. So I think we will be looking into something like that in the next year, but I'm a little concerned about spreading ourselves too thin when we have some really interesting areas to focus on that we think can be helpful. However, I do think it's a good idea, and it's definitely something my team has talked about. So thank you for that. Okay. Saj, I saw your hand first. Sorry. That's a great point, and I think to just sort of echo. So Saj's point, for repeating for the podcast, was that local clubs leaders from either the Chicago Alumni Club, the Booth Club, the law school Alumni Club in a certain city should get together. And that's actually happened with some of the Career Month events that we're organizing. So as Mary will tell you, in New York, the Career Month event coming up on November 4th is a joint effort between the leaders of the Chicago Alumni Club and the Booth Club in New York. In San Francisco, we're involving the Chicago Alumni Club president and the Booth Alumni Club president talk regularly, and they're having those types of meetings, and they're partnering on these types of events. So it can be done, and as Saj said, if the local alumni leaders can take it upon themselves to do that, or if they need our help just to make the contact, we're more than happy to do that. Pam, I saw your hand next.
Yes, I have the question, the bullet point third from the bottom. What types of communications are most effective to engage alumni in the networking? I'm going to answer that with a corresponding question. What communication do you have right now? Do you have any online newsletters that you send out on a regular basis? Or you mentioned that before June there really wasn't much done with the alumni career. Is there any way you can send out even every 6 months, just an informational little blurb saying, please sign up for alumni career networks? Did you even know about it?
Yeah.
What are you doing
so
right now?
there is the university, our Alumni Relations and Development Group regularly sends 2 emails a month to all of our regions. So I don't know if you get those emails. You should get them, so we'll make sure you're on the list. And that's primarily where we're announcing events, club events, career events, events like the Volunteer Caucus. They get announced through those emails, and usually the events are sort of they're abbreviated with links back to the Alumni and Friends online community where people can register. So all of our Career Month events have been advertised through that. The email that we sent out in September to all members of the Alumni Careers Network, that was a limited email, so it only went to people who were in the Careers Network, asking them to update their information, went through the Alumni and Friends web community, and then directed people back there to update their career profiles. And what we will be doing, as we mentioned in a previous slide, and Mary's going to be the point person for this, is producing a regular newsletter for the Careers Network, something we've never done. And we haven't exactly spec'd it out yet, but I know that the newsletter will probably have maybe some profiles of people in the network, some discussion about networking in general and tips and tricks, things like that, as well as update your profile. And one of the things that we've talked about is, can we start to email people who haven't updated their information in a year, just to remind them to keep it fresh? We've never done that. So someone may have signed up 3 years ago, never signed in again. So it's a very simple thing, and I think the advantage that some of the new technologies through the web community are enabling us to do is communicate better and target our communications in a much more effective manner. So yes, we will be doing a lot of this stuff. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm involved with the Booth Alumni Club in Chicago, and I'm joined by a couple of emeritus board members. And I might say, in my humble opinion, we are a very vibrant organization.
Yeah.
What has made us successful is that we have a re-energized board, and we are actively reaching out to people. When you make comments about, how can we reach out and send more emails, all of us are absolutely inundated with emails. And I probably need 6 more important emails than the years. But real quick comment, there's way too many LinkedIn groups. I've said this in another place. If you were to effectively Google LinkedIn groups, Booth alone has 68. And those are all independently set up. It'd be nice for somebody to see if they can consolidate them by reaching out to whoever the sponsors are. We just have too many who are ineffective. But the one concern I've always had, and I've always believed, is email and pushing marketing kind of things. It's very passive. It does not engage people. One of the things that I think our club has been very effective at doing, and boy, have we got miles and miles to go, certainly, but I think we've been off to a very good start over the past couple of years, is the face-to-face engagement with people. And there are lots of people, whether we're talking about volunteering activities or helping others through career services, a phone call to one person, and actually starting in a sense, if you will, a calling tree, to ask people to say, would you help us on this particular thing or that particular thing, has been very effective for us. I would not have joined the board had somebody not called me out of the total clear blue.
Yeah.
We are right now in the process of reaching out to different groups of our alums in the Chicago area, over the Chicago Club. And I know for a fact that from things that I have seen sort of anecdotally, that all people need is to be asked. Because there's lots of people who are ready, willing, and able to help out, but they either haven't thought about it, they don't know how to do it, they just need that little nudge that a personal phone call will do.
Yeah.
You guys realize, because I've talked with the alumni office or member group, you guys do not have the resources to develop the programs that most of us would like to. But an active group of volunteers is very effective. How do you get an active group of volunteers? Well, you have to solicit 100 people, maybe 500 people. And out of that group, you'll get 3, 5, 7, or 9 people who will really take the ball and run. Once you've got that, you've got the start of a critical mass to really run a lot of these programs. I liked the idea that was mentioned over here about an all alumni career fair. I doubt that the Booth alumni group would have the resources to sponsor something big in Chicago, other than perhaps we could get some free space. And maybe toss a little bit of money for some minor refreshments. But it would be something like the club that would do this. I mean, we just have to get the people who are properly engaged. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I think that's something that you guys really will need to do, and you've got to perhaps reach out with very specific requests. You want to set up a focus group, a steering committee to explore how we might help, and then get on the phone and talk to some people. If you send it out on an email, just like spam marketing, you'll be lucky to get 1% return. A personal phone call.
I think that's a great argument.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about that. I agree with you 100% because we've had the same situation in Los Angeles. And I'm running, with Matt's help, we're doing the career event November 5th in Los Angeles, and just getting the board knowledgeable about it has been difficult with email. I had to go to a board meeting in order to tell people, here's what we need, and we need suggestions from you about people you would recommend to come and talk about networking and how we're going to do that. So I agree with you 100% on that. We're also very limited because we only have, 50% of our alumni have emails registered with us at the university. It's kind of a first step, but I agree 100%, and I love these suggestions about phone calling and meeting in groups, even going to happy hours and say, hey, I'm really interested in having a job fair. Who do you know who's maybe an alum in a business who would be interested in coming to this job fair and things like that? So I really think that's a good idea.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Sure.
No. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
I get lots of phone calls.
Yeah.
From people. I've always kind of, again, just the years of being embedded a little bit when they're talking. But I think that would be an interesting twist on everybody wants to help.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, why don't you reach out to the alums? Might be fully employed, maybe in a position to hire, maybe not.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they can become maybe.
I like that. That's a great idea. And I want to take more questions, but I just want to comment on one thing. I think, when we were talking a little bit about building the infrastructure, I think having these career liaisons, people at the board level, whether it's the overall alumni board, the booth, alumni club in different cities, the class councils, those people can be our sort of people on the ground organizing a calling tree. So having this infrastructure built out is a really important piece of, I think, what you're talking about. And I agree, email it's necessary right now, but it's not as effective as a call. So I really appreciate your comments. And if we do I think to your point, if we do an alumni career fair, it may be volunteer driven. I mean, if we can get volunteers to help recruit organizations, then that makes it a lot more likely that Mary and I can help support that. If we have to go out and recruit 50 organizations, we're not going to get a lot of our other work done, which is part of, yes.
One of the things you need to do is group them geographically, and this is one of the main horrific failures of alumni events, is that if you look at the list of events, I think it's very nice that we have events all over the entire world, but who wants to read what's going on in Singapore before we know what's going on to a place we could actually get to? And I think, I think it's cool if they want to fly us all to Singapore, but I don't think that's going to happen, and I think it needs to be adjusted so that you can actually get people to come together, because it's very nice to blanket the entire world with emails, but if you get them all in the same room, you're going to have much more efficiency than if you have it the way it's currently set up.
It's a major issue that we're dealing with.
We had an event that was number 55 out of 95, and all these other places around the world, which no one here is going to, were first. And so it just minimizes the efficiency of getting together with people.
Agreed. That was an issue that, So at the earlier, so one of the comment was, having events on the web community grouped or searchable by city or geography would be ideal. And I was in the earlier session about Alumni and Friends online community. Barbara was there, I know Tom was there, and a few others. And it's a problem, and I know it's a coding problem that they have, and I'm not versed enough to comment on it. So make sure you talk to Joel Seligman on the way out. He's not here. I don't see him.
Last night.
Okay, good. Sorry, Neil. Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm confused about something here, but maybe you could tell me. I mean, this concept of directed communications, how nascent of a phase are we in this? Because I filled 4 positions this year. Never got a call. Didn't even know this existed. And not to go counter to what the gentleman over there said. I asked the Booth Alumni Club. I said, "Can you at least point me in the right direction?" They said, "You didn't go to Booth." So, maybe you cross staff the boards of each with a university representative to the Booth Club and vice versa.
No, I mean,
I hired 4 people this year.
Yeah.
In this economy, I hired 4 people, and I didn't get any communications from you guys. So, I mean, I'm wondering, are we in a nascent phase, or are we really going to make some initiatives here and maybe throw some money at the problem? I don't know, but,
Unfortunately, I think we are in somewhat of a nascent phase. I have to be honest. I mean, I think there have been some barriers to getting effective email communications out to people like you
he's right.
who have the opportunities.
I would have taken the call.
And and I think internally, we actually do a pretty good job of sharing job opportunities. So if you emailed me with 4 job opportunities and you said, I'm looking to hire some MBA alumni.
I can't hire the 4 people and rehire.
Sorry, we missed that. But if you had emailed me, I would have sent whatever jobs for MBAs over to Julie Morton in the career office at the Booth School. And I know
I had no problem hiring Booth alum.
And she does the same.
I like Booth alum.
Thank you.
That's good. She does the same thing for us too. So when she has job postings that would be appropriate for non-Booth alumni, she sends them our way and we get them posted. We do a lot of cross-posting with CAPS. So it does happen, but I think you're right. We are in somewhat of a nascent phase, and it's not good. I don't like that, and it hamstrings what I'm able to do as an office. So we need to get better at it. We need to do it quickly. And I know Kate and the board are sort of hammering us over the head on that, and they should be.
I've been a major complainer about this in terms of having people like you, or even people looking for jobs or something like that, and not being able to find the resources that they need to go to. So it's really good that you brought that up.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience, although a better
I'll
one.
look this way.
I just wanted to say that a couple of months ago I needed to hire. I run my own chiropractic office. I needed a new office assistant and figured, well, maybe there's some UC graduates wanting to do something like that. We called CAPS and they forwarded the email I sent around to some people, and I ended up hiring someone through that connection. So it can work, but it definitely was sort of, I just had to call CAPS. And there was no system in place for that. And so that's sort of, small business owners who are looking to hire a fair amount. having more.
Sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. I was ignoring them for too long.
I know.
I have more just like a blanket statement. While in the college, I was interested in the nonprofit sector. And there was no one, CAPS wasn't really strong at that. I don't know if they've gotten stronger.
They have.
There wasn't a strong resource for us who were interested in that world. So we were forced to learn how to network, which was a good thing for us because we all know who works where, and a lot of UC alums have gone into that sector. So for me, just as we're thinking about these possible career fairs and shared interest groups, is that you make it a point to have a nonprofit public sector focused sort of group, because there's a lot of us out there.
Before I take another question, can I ask, if you're a Booth alum or non-Booth alum, did any of you see the Booth Effect email that went out? I'm sure you probably saw it.
No, we ignore all emails from you guys.
I know, so that's a problem. So, but I will say,
I'm getting way too much now.
I will say that was sort of an example of a really good email that made it really easy for someone to say, yeah, I can hire a fellow Maroon.
What was the subject line, man?
It was probably the Booth Effect. Didn't send an email out.
Yeah, so I was probably assuming something on the financial crisis, and I may or may not have saved it into something to read later in my free time when I'm 75.
Point taken. But I just wanted to sort of mention that I think what the things that Neil mentioned was, I'm not even hearing about, hiring or opportunities to hire Chicago alumni. So I think that email was a good example, but again, it's email, so it's not as effective. So I'm sorry, you're not. I thought you were someone else. I apologize.
But you've not set this up in a useful way if you're trying to record for a podcast and sit here and getting a lot of conversations. Maybe you're assuming that the roundtable will provide more hands-on, which now means I have to stick around for it because I have about 14 comments for you. I used to run an employment newspaper. I have started a number of businesses. I had my own consulting company. I'm a college and a Booth grad. I have tried to be involved in the alumni network. I will tell you, as soon as I hit a password requirement for something that I don't know, I move on. Okay? I don't have a lot of time in my life. I have helped University of Chicago graduates get jobs, you name it. This is disturbing to me, your guys' presentation, and Kate, this is my goal to you, okay? This is one of the worst presentations I have seen to try to engage people in an idea or some kind of, let's get excited. There's a driving need in today's economy for us to put the applied sciences of what we learned in the University of Chicago out into the world. So while it's wonderful, I'll tell you, Booth has made me a lot of money. So if you want to make a lot of money, go to the Graduate School of Business. But I didn't start out with a lot of money. I was an American history graduate. Okay, but it's not about the money or about the fact that we want to make careers to do whatever. It's because something is unusual about the University of Chicago, and we create critical thinkers, and we need it now more than ever before for this century, or we won't survive this century well. So it's a volunteer imperative. Like, I'll give you money if you can state it that way. I'll give you time if you can state it that way. I will read your emails if you can give me a motivation. Do I want to help University of Chicago people? Sure. Do I hire them for reception jobs and chiropractors? I have throughout the last, I can't believe it, 25 years. Okay? But where's your mission statement? Let's not let knowledge grow from more to more and so become enlightenment. Alumni should talk to alumni and to students because this is the world of ideas, and once we leave this place, it is the applied science. We don't have an engineering, well, maybe we will now. Because we learn the theory. The rest of our lives is the application of the theory, and we have a duty and an obligation to do that well, to do that with fun and love and social purpose. And if you go to Booth, to make a crap load of money so you get roped into Chicago society during your reunion here and have to go and get people to give you big gifts. But that's important. You've shown us along with us, and then I'll tell you, nascent phase, you guys are where you were 15 years ago. I ran the UC2MC club in the 90s before I relocated to the Philadelphia area. You are asking the same problems, same issues for 15 years. So Kate, since you're sitting on the Board of Governors, you got to get them motivated, put this into the big picture, and get us engaged.
Absolutely, and I agree with you 100%. And what I would really love, is for you to do the presentation next year, because That's where the drive is. Everybody I've talked to, and I started my career, I'm in nonprofit, I work for UCLA, which is kind of a nonprofit. We get some pretty big gifts. But when I was starting out in the I graduated in '82. When I was starting out, CAPS was terrible. I hate to say that, but it really was. It didn't help me in any way or like that. But the people that I was working with at the University of Chicago gave me names of Chicago people that were in Boston, that I was going to Boston. So I started it that way, and I spent my career in that by doing that. I think in terms of what Matt's trying to put together for us is kind of like the overview of what we're trying to do. I agree 100% with what you said in terms of we've done this before and we're trying it again. There's a lot of like stumbling blocks, but in the end, we're all alums. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from anybody. I want to hear from anybody who has a job. I have anybody who has a career issue, because I like to hear that. So I agree with you with that. Like I said, Matt and I are going to be boring for a while because it's going to be much more interesting to us to hear what your concerns are. So that's my big spiel.
No, and I appreciate your comment, and I think you hit a really important point. We're probably where we were, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and that's not a credit to us. I will readily admit that. Right? No, I know.
But a focus or a mission statement, and all those other pieces, the 28 things you're trying to do, I swear, will fall into place, particularly with the University of Chicago group, if there's a big idea behind it. Okay? But otherwise, all these little piecemeal things, right, fall apart. How many times have we seen that?
And I think that's, sorry, go ahead.
I think the premise of, though, if you look at the first slide, we focused on networking, and we focused, it was all about what networking was. And if anything, like, if we get an email that says connects every person in this room, and we take it on ourselves to be able to not only email directly and to call directly and actually connect with each other, then I think that will organically start to work through a lot of things.
And
we're not allowed to do that.
Well, actually,
I think we want to get there, though.
But I agree with you. Like, this is the same issues that we talked about when I graduated. And I graduated a little bit recently. But I also think that it's on us. It's on every single person in this room to be able to say, I want to make a change and I want to help these guys out. Matt's putting together a way for us to talk about it, and the Volunteer Caucus is a way for us to come together. Unless we take something from this and actually do it, then it doesn't matter.
But I want to mention, so I agree it's on you, but it's on us to make sure that we can create a sustainable infrastructure for that to happen. And I think Brett's point is that we haven't done that yet, and we haven't enabled that to happen. And I think we're trying to get to that. And I think we have to brand it. We have to identify what's our value proposition. Thanks, Mike.
When you look at not working with everybody here, from what I understand, the USB drive has everybody's contact information. And so you think in those terms. I want to look for somebody that was here with me or like me to do this, and maybe I should contact them. That's it.
Other question?
I totally agree with you. I did not graduate from this law school. I graduated from graduate school here. But I now am in charge of hiring all lawyers for a very large company, Fortune 50 law department. And having an all-alumni job board is probably the best way to do this. I mean, right now, I get charged every time I place an ad. I'd much rather hire somebody who I know went to law school here, or someone who went to undergraduate here, or went to one of the divisions. Because I know that they can think, they can read, and they can write. These days, it's pretty hard to monitor. So I really do think. I mean, frankly, an email saying "new job, alumni job board open," I would guarantee if you had that in a gray line, people would actually read it.
Well, and we like I said, we do have that. And I will caveat it. And I'm frustrated by this. It's not the job board that I want yet. It's a job board that we created to do it because we needed to get it done. And Mary knows that it's not the job board we want, because what I want is for you just to be able to go on the job board and post a job. I don't want you to have to email it to Mary and have Mary post it. But sadly, that's where we are. So that's what we're working with. But we will, right? Right. You know, it's easy to do that, right? But we will announce that, and we will publicize it. And I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about. And Saj, you know, has been the person beating the drum for that job board on the Board of Governors side over the past year, and we did it because I got sick of listening to him. We did it because we needed to do it. We needed to do it.
Thank you for representing us.
Yes?
I think in the challenges thing, two things came to mind. In the DC area, ironically, even though it's very transient city, it's actually a pretty strong alumni group there, which, you know, I think brings me to my point that I think we should celebrate our successes a little bit more. I know a lot of alumni, whether we're recent or semi-recent or, you know, tenured, they look towards Phoenix Fest as just an idea of, it's a tradition. They already know it's kind of coming up, and it's a great venue. I see alumni stuff there and caps there, but I don't know if in every city or club that has this also the same event, if they're kind of utilizing that opportunity to kind of do what you were suggesting we do, and that is leverage our networks. And I know that a lot of different people attend Phoenix Fest. People have been attending for 20 years. But what I wanted to get at is the cost. I understand it's a big challenge. Would it be unreasonable to kind of have, I mean, we have our blanket services or outreach that we kind of do for all alumni. But then something like, you know, in the triage of selection, you can have like, you know, a yearly alumni fee for people who like this idea of doing like quarterly lunches, people who do the finance group or who do, you know, legal and professional. I mean, that sort of idea that's organic enough for those of us who know how to meet with each other, but just this kind of thing that, okay, you know, I know I paid my alumni service fee this year. You've given us the resource. Now it's up to you guys to kind of make it a little bit more tailored to that group who's willing to invest a little bit more in that.
So the question was, can we sort of leverage some of the events that we're doing? We have done that a little bit, like the Phoenix Fest events.
Or just have, like, celebrate our successes. So we get the idea of how many of our alumni have been actually hired by, you know, this gentleman's company. I mean, things like that. I mean, starting off on a positive note rather than, you know, oh, it's January, it's a terrible time of year. We know that from this year. But then using that as an opportunity, let's get ahead of the curve. Something biannual.
I think that's a great idea, and I think we should be doing that more in the context of the actual event, saying on an update on careers, here's some successes that we had, you know, within this group that is gathered, you know, for the event. You know, we have tried to become more sophisticated about marketing at places like Phoenix Fest and Harper Lectures, and that's again a credit to the Board of Governors who pushed us to do that. So you probably did see some marketing and some messaging about, you know, supporting career networking, supporting job opportunities if you went to one of those events. As far as the fee for, you know, people who are interested in taking advantage or participating in career activities, that's probably a bigger strategy question. I can certainly take it under advisement, but I'm not sure, you know, how that fits in with the rest of our alumni services. But I don't think it's
because the challenge was, for example, there are alumni that are in there. I contact some of them are very polite, but some of them have no idea what even the university, I mean, they forget that they've signed up for it, and they have no, unfortunately, to their credit, maybe they're trying, but the thing is, it's very disheartening when instead they turn around and ask you about, oh, so what other UC events are coming? I mean, it's like, you know, it's not effective. And if they were re-engaged in something like Celebrate Our Success this year in January, and if they don't attend it, it's not an opportunity for them to update their contact, get rid of them from the system, because it's a really negative point to have them in there. And no disrespect to tenured alumni, there are some very wonderful people, but there are some that just don't have this notion of networking the way we evolved.
That's a great point. I think one more question, or one or two more questions.
Are there any career services available to alumni similar to what's available maybe at CAPS or for undergrads, like needs assessments? I think of it in terms of when you're looking to change careers to CAPS and you want to do something else. And I know when you're an undergrad, you know, you can see what's a good fit for me. But after you've been in one career and you're looking as an alum to transition to something else, are there services like that available for the university?
We'd like to add some of those resources to our website. We do have things like access to vault.com, access to, you can still access some of the services that offices like CAPS, the boot school, the law school provide. So if you're alone with the college or one of the graduate divisions, if you wanted to go to CAPS to ask about their assessment tools, you still have access to that. And we'd like to add some of that to our Alumni Career Services website as well. But yes, the short answer is yes, but we also need to improve and have more. There's a question in that, yeah.
I don't know that it's a question so much as maybe a comment for discussion, and maybe we don't have time for that, but just one of the things that struck me so much as being, so I'm a young woman from the college, obviously, and I kind of feel like, looking at my friends who went to other, universities, mostly Ivy League, and particularly in New York, they have these really tight young alumni communities, and they really welcome people to new cities. They kind of bring them in with open arms. I feel we don't have that. I don't know if some cities, like Zimmer's comment this morning made me wonder maybe DC is doing it right. New York definitely, I believe, isn't. And hopefully the new Alumni and Friends community will do that. And I think you guys are providing a lot of the tools that maybe will make that happen. But one of the things that's interesting to me is just mindsets, because I think the mindset of people from this university is so different from a lot of other places where we do think networking is a dirty word. I think a lot of people do, and it's so hard because even if you don't think it's a dirty word, but you don't really get it, then when you call people, they don't really know how to deal with it. So I called actually 15 people from the Alumni Careers Network last year when I was looking for a job. I had a great experience with some of them, and some of them were like, yeah, that's great, but they didn't know how to engage in a conversation that would have been helpful to me, and that's the kind of thing where like I feel like a big part of this is just shifting the way people think about like what it means to be part of this community, like
so
how do you engage.
That might be some of the networker training that we talked about.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's young and old. It's because it's the new alumni as much as the old alumni, I think, who think this is dirty.
Tom, I'm going to give you the last comment before we end, because I have to be nice to you.
I want to take the telephone call to the next level and make a personal appeal to people in the room face to face. I'll talk a little bit about the public interest program that we've set up here that fits into the nonprofit discussion we had earlier, where what we're trying to do is we're trying to find either nonprofit or public interest fellowships for U of C college graduates in the Chicago area. But when we say public interest, we don't just mean nonprofit. We also mean microfinancing. We mean law departments that are involved in some nonprofit public interest type work. We're trying to find fellowships for college graduates who are looking to try to get a taste of nonprofit. And maybe people who are going to end up going to boot school making a lot of money, but they want to try 1 year out trying something a little bit different. It's really a dynamite program, but we need help with placements. Last year we had 64 kids apply to the program. We had 6 placements. So this has tremendous potential. It's geared off very similar to a Princeton program called Project 55. 10% of the Princeton class applies to this program. We'd like to see the same thing over here, but we need help in terms of finding placements, either nonprofits, any kind of public interest work. We'd like to partner with some of these organizations. We had a few discussions with the Booth School and some of the alumni officers over there. There's some ways we can work together too in a variety of different ways. Law school, the same thing. So this, to me, if you have any ideas or thoughts, we have a booth outside, but here I am.
And
sure appreciate you.
We need to end the session. I did want to provide a few quick takeaways. The one thing I want to say is thank you all for coming. Thank you for your honest and very helpful comments as well. I've written down a lot of notes. I know Kate's done the same, and we will take your comments to heart and talk about them, and hopefully we will be able to act on them sooner than later. The first thing I want everyone in this room to do, I would ask you to please all join the Alumni Careers Network. Even
yes, everybody has to.
Yeah.
Has to.
It may not be the easiest.
I'm going to call you.
And
I'll call you. Won't email you, I'll call you.
Don't do that here. Please consider attending one of the National Career Month events coming up near you. These are a list of a few of our cities. I know Philadelphia is not on here, nor is Hong Kong, but you're all volunteer leaders, and we need you in the room if you can attend one of these events. And more information is available about these on the Alumni and Friends online community. If you have the ability to host an extern, an intern, or a UC PIP fellow, please talk to me, talk to Mary, talk to Marta. There are booths outside where they're all talking about these opportunities. Tom is here as well, representing UC PIP. So please, consider that. If you can hire a current student to do one of these things, or just for no cost, host a student through the externship program. Or if you can't be a host, volunteer your time. I know you all are busy. You all have volunteer responsibilities already, but a lot of these are very, very low time commitments on your part. If you can be a reader, an interviewer, or just a mentor to someone. Volunteer with your local alumni club, or volunteer with your local structure, or your class council to host a career event, and work with Mary or I on that. We're happy to help you get some career programming off the ground. Talk to alumni about forming a shared interest group. If you're saying we need a finance SIG in Chicago, let's talk about it. Get some people together, and we'll find some meeting space for you, and we can help. And then again, share full-time job opportunities through our job board, through the CAPS job posting site, through the booth or law school sites. We really, really need new opportunities for alumni and for students as well. And lastly, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Kate, for hosting with me. We really appreciate it.